Right, I thought I'd better do at some point I'd better do like a progress report of where the Bantam rebuild project has got up to. Because I haven't done anything with it for quite a long time, but quite a lot of things have happened quite quickly just in the last few days. So just in summary, so we've got so where the wheels are on, we've got new wheels, which are, if you remember from before, they are rebuilt. They're stainless rims and spokes on the original hubs, and with new tyres. Now these tyres are, the original tyres when I got it were Chinese something, Kenda or something, and they were really too big. The correct tyre size is 19 inches by 275, and 275 means 2 3/4 inches. The tyres that were on it were 3 inches, they were 3 inches wide, and they're really too fat. But now they fit much better. So there's much more, the gap between the tyre and the mudguard is plenty. Whereas before with the 3-inch tyres, it was very close and didn't look very good at all. So we got the stays on eventually, which didn't fit on the other one, but they do on this. Needed a bit of tweaking, a bit of filing in the holes here and there to make them fit. They're a pretty good fit. You've got a sort of pretty much a parallel gap between the tyre tread pattern and the edge of the mudguard. Is a bit wider at the front, but otherwise the rest of it is okay. That'll do, that's fine. The forks are new ones, they're stainless. They came from Dragonfly. The new springs, new bushes. These forks have been apart at least 4 or 5 times. I still haven't greased them yet. They've got the grease nipple here. You pump them up with grease. I haven't done that yet, just in case I have to take them apart again. And that's the same reason why I didn't do it before, in case I have to start taking them apart, and sure enough I did. Interesting thing about that, when I got it, it had new bushes, and then but the same old knackered fork legs and the springs were in a terrible state as well. So that's why I replaced them with new legs and new springs. Also, incidentally, the springs have got the so-called rubber damper, which is basically just consists of a piece of reinforced fuel hose which is shoved down the middle of the spring, which is down each side, and it is 14 millimeters out of diameter, and it's an inch shorter. From what I gleaned from trying to do research of what people have said, it's supposed to be about an inch shorter than the free length of the spring. So the springs screw onto the end of the fork leg, and then at the other end they screw onto a thing which comes out here, the end of that, and they're like a left-hand thread. And then so whatever space is left between there, you make these rubber hoses about an inch shorter. So it's kind of like a very crude sort of progressive springing, I suppose. Very crude progressive suspension. As the fork's compressed, it starts to crush or squash these rubber hoses, which limit the maximum travel, because otherwise it can be a bit soft. Anyway, the story about the bushes is, so the original bushes, when I put these sliders in, they were a bit loose. There's quite a bit of play. Now, I bought new bushes. I bought from the same place. These are from Dragonfly, and the bushes came from Dragonfly way back in the beginning when I found out I was going to have to be rebuilding stuff. And I bought a new set of fork bushes. When I took the forks apart, I found it's already got a new set of bushes. So I reused them. I just put them back in. It transpires that they don't match these fork legs. And sure enough, when you actually look on the website and compare actually look at the information, and they do say, if you're buying these fork legs, you need these bushes, or if you're buying these bushes, they fit these fork legs, because these fork legs are 25 millimeter, not 1 inch. So the old bushes, or the previous bushes, which are 1 inch, they're actually measured as like 25 point something, looks like 25.3, 25.4 using a micrometer. And sure enough, these are 25. And then sure enough, I went and found the bushes I bought, and would you believe it? Yes, they are 25 millimeter in a diameter. So I took it all apart again, put the other bushes in, and now so that these fit properly. There's no play. There's a nice snug fit and no play, which is what we want, which is great. So we got the brake cable attached, and it's working, and it might as well stay there now. It still needs oiling, but that's easy done. Just undo it at the top and pour oil down it. That's fine. So there it is. This because this bar has to be, it probably doesn't look like it on the camera, but this part has to be parallel to the leg, and you have to get it so that the cut out the scallops here line up with the forks, and which they do as much as we can. Oh yes, right, both the mud guards have now got wax oil sprayed on underneath, so they're pretty much on there. You know, I don't really want to have to take them off again, so we put some wax oil on, and they sort of go on for the final time. And this is the rear one, which is much the same. I'm having a bit of a problem with the stays at the moment. They don't reach. They didn't reach before. So what I'm going to do today is try. I know it's a bit of a bodge. I was going to make a couple of little plates just to join them together. I was going to try making something from a bit of tubing, but I can't be bothered right now. I just want something that works for the moment. As I say, it's a bit of a bodge, but it should work. What was the other thing? We opted in the end finally to convert it to 12 volts. That's the next thing needs doing. Probably the next job needs rewiring. So now we've got so this is a new 12 volt battery in the toolbox. So when it was originally although the engine is not the original, and it's a battery lighting version generator in the engine, but the bike originally was AC lighting only. So it only comes with the toolbox and no battery carrier. But with a little battery in there, if you put the cover on, and you wouldn't know that it's a battery version, but it's 12 volt electrics and LED lamps, which are all sorted out now. So we've got 12 volt LED bulb in the rear, tail and brake light, same for the speedometer. We've even got LED headlight and the pilot light. That's all done, all ready to go. The mudguard is completely wired up. We've got connector there ready to go, and the wiring's all in, and the light is all wired up and it works. This is not the original frame. Originally, it was a 1955 Bantam D1 125cc AC lighting plunger frame, but this is not the original frame. So this is a 1953 frame, so it's now going to be a 1953 Bantam D1 125 plunger frame, but with a 1959 engine, which has got better features on it because it's later, both the big end bearings are lubricated by the gearbox oil. But talking about the electrics, we've got so it's now going to be 12 volts, so we've got a little 12 volt regulator, which I'm just going to put up into here, and then I want to maybe I'll make a bracket that goes across from here to here. I've also got the ignition coil we can play with. I can play about with ignition options, maybe energy transfer ignition or even CDI ignition. I might have to sort of work something out, and all of this will be hidden under the tank. You won't see it, so you'd be none the wiser that it's not really as simple as it's supposed to be. Someone was asking me about the main stand earlier when I was doing it. So if we come down here to the footrest bar, and again this is a Dragonfly item, so there's a new stud, new nuts and spring washers and things, and it's a new main stand, and this is the original main stand, which is, you can see it's it's a paint over rust. The feet are worn away and somebody's welded in slugs, and it's bent and twisted and all the rest of it. So it's able to get a new one. Again, it's from Dragonfly. So that's the new one. And to make it fit, I have had to pack it. Mind you, I had to do it with the original one as well. I don't know if can you quite see? So in there is like a stack of washers, and it's the same both sides to pack it out because it's wider than the original. And then suddenly it makes sense why the bar is longer than the original as well, because with this stand it fits. If you use this stand with that width and then you put all this on and then you put the nuts on and you've only got this bit at the end, which you could chop off if you wanted to, but the length does make sense using this stand. Anyway, it's very good and it works, and the angle is perfect. Everything fits on this frame better than the original, because the original frame is slightly bent, and it could be straightened out, but it is bent in a couple of places. I got a suspicion, I can't prove it, it's just a hypothesis on my part, but I got a suspicion that this bike is made from parts from two other bikes at least. I got a feeling what might have happened is it's been in an accident and the frame has got slightly bent. So like this top tube was a bit, not this one, this is not perfect, but it's dead straight compared to the other one, and the back end was a bit twisted up as well. I've got a feeling, and it's purely a wild guess on my part, but it looks like something might have happened. Like, for example, the bike was rammed up the back by another vehicle. Supposing he was at traffic lights or waiting at a roundabout or a junction or something, and a car came up behind and didn't stop, and it rammed up at the back, and then it fell on its left-hand side. It bent the handlebars. These are not the original handlebars, these are new ones that I bought, but the original handlebars, which again, like everything else, was put back on, even though it's no good. The left-hand side was considerably bent. It was bent back at least an inch. Both of these steering locks were snapped off. They've been welded back on badly, but they're welded back on and they haven't fallen off yet. The forks are from two different bikes because, first of all, the links are different. This one is 5mm shorter than that one, and these shoulders here, I don't know if you can see, that is lower than that. So these are from obviously from different bikes. These seal holders are different as well. One of them's got red paint on it, the other one doesn't. I also found red paint somewhere else, and I'm wondering if one of the donor bikes was either a maroon or it might have been a GPO bike, I don't know. But before I got it, what I got was parts from at least two different bikes, possibly three if the engine, which we know was a later type and a replacement, maybe that was done earlier as well, before the last rebuild. It was originally rebuilt and re-registered in 2017, and I'm doing it again now, but with a different frame. And because it's got a different frame, it's going to have to be re-registered, because of course you can't transfer the frame number. Um, so we have to go through the re-registration process, but that's by the way. Um, I hope that explains about the main stand. Something else I've got to do. So I'm in the process of, so we've done the front brake then, so that's now connected up with a cable. The handlebars are coming off. The next thing to do is rewire it. I'm going to have bar-in indicators in the end, and then I've got to make a hole in the middle of the handlebar. And I made a mark. You know, X marks the spot. Just put a hole in there for the little wires to come out. So what we're going to end up with is, so we're going to have, this is your dip switch, high, low, your horn. Then over here we've got cut out. So you hold that down and it shorts out the contact breaker, stops the engine. And this is going to be this is all loose, so I need to put rubber underneath it or something. They're done up as far as they will go, but they're still not tight. But that will ultimately be, that's the general idea. This is the indicator switch, so turning left like that, or turning right like that. So the wires will come out of here into here, and the bar end indicators, if I can find them. An example. They are right, so there you go, something like that. They're Moto Gadget ones. They're extremely expensive, but very good. So one on them on each side, so you've got indicators or something. And they're not, it's not like putting on indicator lamps when there's no really to fit them properly and stuff. I mean, that'll work fine. They look like bar ends and quite simple to do. What else? I didn't rehearse this, as you might be guessing. Oh, that's right. So another thing I need to do, so if we're doing brakes, then the only other thing left to do is to, can you see it? That's try and get right. That's the brake rod, and it's well wonky because somebody's bent it so that it stops rubbing on the frame tube. But I'm afraid that's the way it is. They all do that. So I've got to straighten that out and paint it, and then that will go on, and then we've got a rear brake then. So we've got a front brake and a rear brake. We've got new brake shoes. They are, I believe they're Ferodo. Well, one box said had Ferodo on it as the manufacturer name. I decided I needed another pair as well, so I've got another pair later. I think I've got them from somewhere else. I don't know what the brand name was or if they were branded, but when you compare them, the shoes look absolutely identical. So they are either they're all Ferodo, or Ferodo buy them in from wherever else. But anyway, they're the same. The brakes work fine in here. What else we got? So did I mention before? There's all new wheel bearing. Well, we did all that, didn't we? There's new wheel bearings. All these have been rebuilt with new. Well, they had new bushes already. These rods were replaced. I did a video about all that. These have been pumped up with grease, ready to go. That's got a new grease nipple for my grease gun. That needs greasing up, and then it's ready to go. These are all new adjusters and nuts and things. So, yeah, new brake lever, and then same here, and new sprocket. It's held on with high tensile M5 bolts and nuts, which are done up to 6 Newton meters, I think, which is not a lot, but there's 9 of them. So, so that's where we're at. So say today's jobs, we're just tidying up, fitting some of this electrical stuff perhaps, sorting out the brake rod for the rear brake, sorting out the rear stays for the rear mudguard, just so they'll work for the time being, if not very tidy. And the next job's going to be rewiring probably. which I'm kind of looking forward to actually, because I like that sort of stuff. And then all that will be working. I've still got to look at the engine. I think the engine's been rebuilt. It seems to have a lot of new parts in it, but I just want to check some things out, like I know it's been rebored and it's not been run. It's not sooty at all. There's no carbon in it at all. So it's hardly been run since a rebore. I think it's a 40th hour oversized rebore. And I want to check things like, have the port edges of the ports been filed back, that kind of thing. I think it's got a new gearbox sprocket and it's got new clutch plates, but it needs a new primary chain, it seems. So little things like that, and I'll maybe pull the generator off and have a look at that. I know it starts and runs okay, so I presume the crankshaft seals are okay, but I just want to have a look at them anyway. And if I pull the flywheel off, you can have a look at the seals at the back, which will give us a clue as to how odd they are or not. So that's the sort of plan. So rewiring, looking at the engine, get the engine back in here, and then perhaps use this as like an engine stand and you start working on it and stuff like that. And then what else? We've got a new fuel tap to go in because the original one was rubbish. I've got a Del Auto carburetor I'm going to try out as well. So I've got a new Del Auto carburetor to put on it. Despite the fact that I've completely rebuilt the Animal one, but we're trying a Del Auto one just to see, because it's more modern and it might be better. We'll see. So there's all exciting stuff like that to try out, So in between all the other stuff that I'm doing, like camping trips and stuff and riding other bikes and things. But anyway, there you are. This is probably not a proper, not very good camera angles, I don't suppose, but we get a general idea. These the horn, because I know we've got 12 volt, we could have a decent horn on it. And actually, that's exactly the same horn as I got on the Moto Guzzi, because the Moto Guzzi, albeit it was a new bike, had a useless feeble horn. It was absolutely hot, tinny little squeaky thing. It was useless. So I found this vehicle wiring product, I think. It's quite a strident, deep tone sort of note, which is quite good. So that'll be quite good. This studding. We've got dome nuts on the end. The other side has got a dome nut. So we've got a dome nut and then a half nut as a lock nut. So they're done up tight. So it's like a big long bolt. Penny washers to hold the bottom of the spring, the seat spring. Some on the other side, penny washers to hold the seat spring, and another donut and a lock washer, spring washer. So that's quite simple to do. Oh yeah, these are going to be, at the moment, these bolts, some of these bolts around here are, well, quite a few of them actually, were stainless nuts and bolts, which I've decided I've got to change them out for just high tensile zinc plated ones or whatever. In fact, I started doing it already. So that's a high tensile. So is this the seat hinge? We'll change that. That's okay actually, but we'll change these ones. They are as well. They are high tensile, so I can get them good and tight, because the stainless, you can't do them up that tight. If it's M8, you can do it up to 21 Newton meters, and that's about it. That's the limit. But I think these are done up to like 27, 28 or something, so they're good. And so this clamp is gripping the tube strongly. But all these will be changed out, because people have told me about galling that happens with stainless, and I didn't really believe it, to be honest, until it happened to me. And there's actually that long bolt on the left hand side just a couple of days ago, and I was doing something with it, like doing it up, and then it seized up and I couldn't get it off, and I thought I was going to have to cut it, but I managed to actually get the nut off. And I thought, all right, so this galling thing is actually a thing, so maybe I'll just use normal bolts, which is what I'm going to do. So these little screws, these are all right. It's stainless, they're fine. So they're stainless nylock nuts underneath the mudguard. They won't go rusty. So if me or anybody else needs to take the mud guards apart later on after it's been through some mud and you've got some dirty water and mud up underneath. The nuts are not going to be rusted up, are they? So you can get them off. I don't see there's a problem with that. But the bigger things, certainly as somebody said to me, if it's anything to do with steering or in suspension and things like that, you want the proper kind of fasteners really, not stainless, because you need to be able to do them up tight enough if they have to be tight. So that's what we're going to do. So, but I mean, all of these are the original, no, not the original bolts, these are new bolts, but they're BSF, you know, these BSF high tensile stuff, same round the front here. These are all replaced. The only bolts that are going to go back on, as far as I can see at the moment, are the engine mounting bolts, are the only fasteners that will go back. So all the fasteners that I took off, they're the only 4 that are going to go back, and even they are going to get nylock nuts. So they're not even the original nuts. Yeah, BSF nylock nuts, which are fine. So there you are. So every single fastener has been replaced, because what was on there originally, it looked like it came out of somebody's spares box. It was a right mismatch of this, that and the other, you know. And some of them were, well, there was 3, where the nuts were the wrong thread and they were just forced on. Up here, for example, was a 5/16 bolt or whatever, but the nut was completely different. I mean, it's just no good. Anyway, there you are. Maybe there's enough rabbiting on. I hope that illustrates what's going on, what's been going on, what is planned to go on next. But as I've said, keep saying to other people, I keep changing my mind all the time about how I want to do things. So it's all variable. It's all, you know, at a moment's notice. Anyway, there you are. I hope that's information or use to somebody in some way. So till the next time, bye-zy bye.